Scott here. If we're going to be talking about the Wii, we might as well get this out of the way. The Wii is one of the most polarizing game consoles ever released. Many say it was nothing more than just a virtual bowling dust collector, and while that may be true, I personally believe that while it was very flawed, the Wii was also heavily underrated. The Nintendo Wii, everybody's least favorite console. I say that because while everybody likes a hearty dose of piss on this console at all times, let's be honest, everybody's had a superb experience one time or another on this thing. People like to dog on this poor guy for a multitude of reasons, many being totally warranted. The Wii was completely underpowered compared to its competition, the PS3 and Xbox 360. It was basically just another GameCube. The Wii was home to 90% shovelware, just games that were hot trash that stained clearance bins for ages. The Wii's Online blew. The Wii's motion controls were Gimmick Fest 2006. I mean, these are all definite problems, but I really like the Wii. It isn't my favorite Nintendo console, but it did a lot right. The design of this bad boy is stellar. The Wii is one of the nicest looking game consoles out there. It's incredibly small, compact, and it was so solid they had to include a stand with every purchase just to give the thing that much more class. The disc slot would illuminate a blue light whenever an update for the system was available, which was tart and annoying, but it's totally forgiven for a little thing around the block known as GameCube backwards compatibility. And that was, in my opinion, one of the Wii's greatest strengths. It was totally the all-in-one Nintendo box. You had access to the entire Wii and GameCube libraries, and in addition to that, every other Nintendo home console, other systems, and smaller downloadable Wii games via the Wii Shop channel. The Wii was the introduction to the Virtual Console brand, which were just older games now available on a digital storefront. But let's not forget another third of what was available on the Wii Shop channel, WiiWare, which was the brand used to describe downloadable smaller Wii games. WiiWare was definitely a hodgepodge of quality, but there were some pretty great WiiWare games out there back in the day. Dr. Mario Online RX, Fluidity, Mega Man 9 and 10, Excitebike World Rally, World of Goo, and so on. And then we have the channels. You see, the Wii was the first Nintendo home console with a mandatory system menu. Yeah, the GameCube had this thing of a system menu going on, but the Wii menu was mandatory to peruse to get anywhere. Different applications were considered channels, which were either preloaded on the system or downloadable via the shop channel, and man, did the Wii ever have channels. The disc channel was always a mainstay in the family, a great crowd pleaser, but once you were all out of games to play, where better to lurk than the Me channel? Making your own custom avatars was never as simple and fun as making Mii's was. It was just entertaining to see how out of this world you can make a Mii look or how close you can make it to look to another person. But man, was I ever into the photo channel. This channel is barely talked about to this day, and that angers me more than anything photo channel related should. The Wii came with an SD card slot, which meant you could take photos from it and display them on the big screen, and also let you go wild with some effects. When you wanted to become an elite member of the Economic Stimulation Squad, the Wii Shop channel was always there, and of course, who could forget the forecast and news channels? Just channels to keep you up to date with the latest news and weather forecasts, but if you wanted to stay up to date with Nintendo games, then you had to download the Nintendo channel, which I spent way too much time on as a kid. Video-wise, it had nothing but trailers for Wii and DS games, other than a weekly show entitled Nintendo Week. But it also included downloadable demos for Nintendo DS games you could play by wirelessly connecting your DS to the Wii. The internet channel was the way to watch YouTube channels on your TV back in 2008, and I would talk about the Everybody Votes channel, but I don't want to get into politics. The Check Me Out channel allowed you to upload your craziest Mii creations and compete in Mii-related character creation contests. Most of these channels have been discontinued by Nintendo. The only ones really usable these days are the Disc Me, Photo, and Wii Shop channel, and even the Wii Shop channel will be discontinued in early 2019. I liked dabbling in the Wii message board, which allowed you to send messages to friends, which I never used because the Wii's online infrastructure was gross. I mainly used it to track my playtime of games. I know more consoles do this. I love knowing how f***ing useless I was being some days by seeing just how much Mario Galaxy I was playing. Speaking of the Wii's online, obviously one of the console's biggest turnoffs. It just seemed like for everything the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 did right with online multiplayer and gaming, the Wii was just vomiting profusely at the thought of the internet. Some games worked really well, like Mario Kart Wii and GoldenEye 007. Yeah, that's all I got. What most people point at was the performance of Super Smash Bros. Brawl online, as it blew hard. The majority of other titles worked okay, but their performance was a far cry from Nintendo's competitors at the time. Oh yeah, and the Wii's controller was this honkin' thing. The Wii Remote, or sometimes referred to as the Wiimote. Either people hate this thing or can tolerate it. I can definitely tolerate it. The Wii Remote was actually really simple when you got down to it. Basically an accelerometer and an IR sensor gave this thing the magic that was required for Wii Sports bowling. The motion controls work well most of the time, it just depends on the game, in which problems can be attributed to bad programming a lot of the time. time. Of course, this design is a bit on the simple side for games released in the late 2000s, early 2010s, so plug in a nunchuck for more advanced control options because, gasp, is that an analog stick? Not enough? Well, you can always pop this bad boy into a wheel or a gun shell for an extra hearty dose of unnecessary. But of course you could pop this nugget onto the bottom of the controller to make the Wii Remote do what Nintendo said it could do at the very start. The Wii Motion Plus came out in correlation with Wii Sports Resort and added a gyroscope into the mix which allowed for more precise motion control. This was later fully built into new Wii Remotes named Wii Remote Plus. But hey, if you're like way into not using the Wii Remote, the Classic Controller and Classic Controller Pro sufficed as solid ways to play compatible games with more standard controllers. And if you wanted to use anything but your hands to control a game, the Wii Balance Board supported a few other games other than just Wii Fit. I'm fine using the Wii Remote, but it is nowhere near my favorite controller. Its versatility is neat, how they designed so many ways to play games with it, but overall, there are definitely other controllers I'd rather play games with. Speaking of which, on to the games, which is what I think makes the Wii so underrated. There were so many great first-party Nintendo games released on this thing, it was nuts. And it had a good amount of solid third-party games, plus some hidden gems. It definitely wasn't up to snuff with the GameCube's library in my opinion, but comparing it to say the Wii U or Nintendo 64, the Wii definitely brought the goods in the form of quality Nintendo exclusives. The launch of the system on November 19th, 2006 brought us Wii Sports, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, and Excite Truck. Wii Sports, I gotta say, is one of the most important games of all time. You can scoff as much as you want, but you gotta stop at some point and admit, Wii Sports was a really fun game, and it brought so many people together. As a pack-in, there was a lot of replayability here, and while the motion controls were definitely still a bit primitive and in their early stages, they worked well enough that it made it consistently a hoot to play. But of course, if you weren't into that, you got Twilight Princess at launch, one of the most hyped up Zelda games of all time. Regardless of your opinion on Twilight Princess, having a Zelda game at launch is surely a plus. And Excite Truck, an odd bugger to round the 3 Nintendo launch titles out, but still a really solid game for the system. The Wii series of games were always a mainstay on the console. These were mostly fun games that really took advantage of the controller's capabilities. Not the system's capabilities, good god no, these games look like they were designed with 4 tubs of Play-Doh and nothing more. Wii Sports Resort, Wii Party, Wii Play, all have loads of fun to be had in them. But of course, there's also Mario Galaxy and Mario Galaxy 2 are excellent in the form of 2 discs. I said it before and I'll say it again, I plan to talk about these games at length soon, but for the time being, good job Nintendo. But if you wanted some 2D Mario action, Nintendo made a new 2D Mario game on a home console for the first time in decades, New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Yeah, the art style is bland and it doesn't feel as magical as playing Super Mario Bros. 3 or Super Mario World for the first time, but the new Super Mario Bros. Series is like comfort food. The Wii entry is a solid game and one of the better in the new Super series. It also introduced simultaneous Mario multiplayer, but that was a mistake. Donkey Kong Country came swinging back courtesy of Retro Studios with Donkey Kong Country Returns, and what a game. I'm not a fan of the motion controls being used in this game, so I would personally recommend the 3DS version, but still, DKC Returns is fantastic. Kirby made a comeback on the Wii as well. While the series remained pretty consistent on handhelds, Kirby's Epic Yarn in 2010 was the first Kirby home console game since Kirby Air Ride on the GameCube in 2003. And that was a racing game. If we're talking platformers, it was since Kirby 64 in 2000. And Epic Yarn was pretty neat, man, and yeah, it doesn't have a lot of the tropes of standard Kirby games, but it's so pleasant to look at. It's just a fun game to relax and take your time through. Kinda like most Kirby games. If you wanted some standard Kirby action just a year later in 2011, Return to Dreamland pummeled onto shelves and hey, it's a standard Kirby game. A bit too generic Kirby for me personally, but I still enjoyed the game. And a year after that, Nintendo's final release on the Wii, Kirby's Dream Collection, commemorating the 20th anniversary of the franchise. A really great compilation, featuring for the most part the first half of Kirby's platformer history. What wasn't a really great compilation was Nintendo's offering during the 25th anniversary of Super Mario Bros. Nintendo re-released Super Mario All-Stars on the Super Nintendo on a Wii disc for $30, and included some extras like a history booklet and soundtrack CD. The game is just a ROM dump of the SNES original, a compilation remake of Mario 1, 2, 3, and the Lost Levels. Not one of Nintendo's greatest efforts, definitely. And speaking of Nintendo being lazy as piss, new Play Control! This was a series of games re-released that were simply GameCube games, now with motion controls in them, maybe with a few extra additions here and there. Some games like Pikmin 1 and 2 are blissful with motion and pointer controls, while Mario Power Tennis just feels tacked on. I don't know, sometimes I really like what new Play Control brought to the table, but other times it's like, I can already play GameCube games on the Wii. Re-releasing these things don't really do too much in terms of the concept of making sense. 2 Zelda games and 2 Metroid games. What a world we lived in. With Twilight Princess coming at launch, launch and also being available on the GameCube, Wii owners would have to wait 5 years for a Zelda game made from scratch for the Wii, and Skyward Sword ahoy! Definitely not one of the most beloved Zelda games at the moment due to its over-reliance on linearity, motion controls, and hand-holding, but watch in 5 years, people will consider it the best Zelda game. Metroid got a fair amount of love on the Wii, with Metroid Prime 3 Corruption coming in 2007, the Metroid Prime trilogy containing the first 3 Prime games with Wii remote controls, and... Other M is considered one of the worst Metroid games, but I haven't played it, so let's just avoid this conversation entirely. Smash Bros. And Mario Kart, the 2 heaviest hitters of a Nintendo console these days. Mario Kart Wii was never one of my favorites, but hey, it's still a really solid Mario Kart. And Smash Bros. Brawl, my god, I will defend this game till the cows come home. Is it a great competitive game? No, it's too slow and has too many random elements like tripping and an unbalanced character roster. But it's a good, decent, great, solid game, man. Like, it has so much in it. It has such an amazing character roster. It had a Wikipedia article detailing every Nintendo game released just for funsies. I really love Brawl as a game. I think it gets a bad rap for its lack of competitive nature, but man, I still think it's a really, really solid game. Punch-Out, dude. Punch-Out on the Wii is phenomenal. A bit too over-reliant on nostalgia, but still crazy fun and a great game. Now, of course, Nintendo had loads of other games on this thing: The Return of Sin and Punishment, Xenoblade Chronicles, Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, Animal Crossing City Folk, Battalion Wars 2, WarioWare Smooth Moves and Wario Land Shake It, Big Brain Academy, Mario Strikers Charge, Mario Super Sluggers, effin' Excitebots. But still, there were notable missing franchises on the Wii: F-Zero, Star Fox, the other Mario sports games, Yoshi. Hey, some third-party offerings definitely made the gaps a little less wide with releases like Klonoa, Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, Mad World. Sonic Colors was one of the better modern Sonic titles. Also, the Wii was the first time we saw Mario and Sonic team up. What a whirlwind and a half. No More Heroes gained quite the cult following. Light Gun Games finally had a system to call their own. GoldenEye 007 is a crazy fun first-person shooter. Third parties didn't sleep on the Wii. But of course I'm leaving out a solid 9/10 of the Wii's library, which is this stuff. Yeah, the Wii was filled with shovelware, had less than stellar specs, with some pissy online, motion controls, and missing Nintendo franchises on it. But the Nintendo games that did appear on it were mostly pretty great, and man, there are some third-party offerings that definitely rock. The Virtual Console was awesome on the Wii, feeling much more fleshed out and thoughtful than forthcoming Nintendo console's legacy content offerings. It ain't perfect, but I think many should definitely look more at the positives with the Wii, as they will definitely find something they'd like. It's an underrated console that, while flawed, delivered a lot more than you may recall. The Wii isn't a perfect system, but it shouldn't be chastised for popularizing motion control. Rather, it should be celebrated for its amazing first-party lineup, interesting concepts, and great hidden gems, is what I would say if I was fucking asinine. Do you really think I'd be in support of Virgin McGames console over here? Please, I'm operating on a strict anti-Virgin policy.